Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Cardvoyant. I'm Kris, and I'm your Cardvoyant. And today I have a special guest. It's my sister, Kim.
Ah,
Kim has her own channel. She is a intuitive empath, and her YouTube channel is called Intuitiview, and she does all kinds of really interesting political stuff and other things. She's getting ready to start some classes that will help people get in touch with their intuitive selves and learn how to do that and everything. That'll be in the fall.
mhm.
But today we've been kind of talking about what we would discuss. And we've done other videos with our other sister Pam. We did some psychic sister videos,
Mhm.
and then we've done another one of these sort of Zoom style post-pandemic or during
Yeah.
things.
During the
Um,
pandemic.
and this is our second one. And ever since we did the first one, which got a lot of views and talk, uh, ever since we did that, we've been talking about what we could do for our next one. And so what we've decided to do today is to talk a little bit about exit points. And exit points are something that's commonly or fairly commonly talked about in kind of this new age spiritually kind of
Mhm.
circles. And we want to talk about experiences with them as well. But I thought I would let Kim sort of explain what an exit point is, because there probably are other ways that you would think of it or other names for it, but
Right,
kind of
right,
what we know.
right.
So, so Kim, take it away.
Well, and I'll just tell you how I understand it, because a lot of these things, it comes from a variety of things. It comes from your own, what you intuitively feel, and it also comes from things you read, other things you hear, your own experiences, other people's experiences, and then when you read for other people, you can get even more clarity on what this is. But this came about because I was doing a quick reading for somebody, and they had a relative that was very ill. And what came through was that they were asking, are they going to be okay, and that kind of thing. And what came through was that they were at an exit point. And so I had to explain that we all have exit points. And an exit point is, I like to think of it as, because I like to make everything very simple, but I like to think of it as if you are leaving your home and then you have a destination you're driving to. And then along the way, there's like, rest stops, or there's like off ramps. And that's what an exit point is. So you begin your life, you make out your life, you kind of make your contract and the things you want to do and karma you want to correct and things you'd like to achieve. And you have all of these things there. And then you pick out points where you have exit points. That's the way I understand it. I'm sure other people have different ways of viewing how the exit points come about, but what they basically are different points in your life where you can actually exit your life. And what happens during those times, for example, with this person, they were very ill, and I was telling the person that their guides are counseling them right now, and this person would decide if they want to go, if they want to stay. It's actually up to them, because it's an exit point. If it was not an exit point, it was like, no, they were just going to, it wasn't up to them, they were just going to be fine, then it's up to the doctors, it's not up to them. But an exit point is up to you. And you hear about these a lot of times through NDEs, or near-death experiences. And what you'll hear usually is, I saw a light, I was talking with, some people say Jesus, some people say, my guide, some people say a white light or whatever. And I was asked if I wanted to go back. And for whatever reason, they choose to come back, because it's an NDE. So we know they chose to come back. But why this happens, it varies. I've heard different people say different things. What I understand is that you have these exit points, so you can kind of, if your life isn't going the way you think it should, if it's a big mess, or you're making things worse, or you
We're
just,
overwhelmed.
what's that?
Or if you're just overwhelmed and
Right,
you know, it's like enough.
right. And so basically your guides will come to you and kind of talk you through it, talk you down and say, well, you know, you could go back and do this and this and this, or remember why you're here because this is coming up or whatever. So you have some perspective to make a decision. And with this particular person, he was kind of in and out of consciousness. So I was letting her know that they were counseling him. To me, it seemed like while he slept, whenever he would sleep, they were kind of talking to him and counseling him. And what I got through that reading was that this was happening a lot right now. And a lot of these COVID cases, especially the ones that it's like they're on death's door and they make it out and, you know, like they're on a ventilator and then all of a sudden they recover. Mm-hmm. Why some people are completely healthy and succumbing to this. And it's kind of like these people some of them are at the end of their life, which is different than an exit point. An exit point is a choice. You can choose to come back, or you can choose not to, depending on what you want to do or what's happening with how your life is going. The end of your life, the destination, that in my road analogy, the destination, that's the end. That's the end of your life that you have, you've determined for yourself. Right. But along the way, what's up?
And you fulfilled your sort of life purpose, or
exactly. You've gotten to the end of it, and whatever you just decided to keep going.
Right.
What I find interesting though is that I have had an exit point that I know of that it was an exit point, and so have you.
Right.
But what I noticed after my exit point was my life completely changed after that. I was married to someone else. My life I was living somewhere else. Everything was different. And within about 3 months of me having that experience, my life was completely different. And so what I think is that they said, get out of this is where you need to be. So get out there. And so that's what happened. But I also think that sometimes when you decide to come back, a change of attitude, they see things very differently, have a different perspective. Sometimes their life completely changes. It usually is some kind of experience that you can pinpoint and say, that was when things changed, or that, I had this experience and things were different after that. Yeah. There are also exit points that we actually, not subconsciously, but our higher self will kind of veer away from because we don't need them. So for example, and those are those ones where it's like, I decided not to, like a lot of the Twin Tower, I was supposed to go to work that day and I decided not to, that kind of thing. It's like it could have been an exit point, or it could have been, but it was a choice. The people that were actually there and that was the end, maybe some of it was an exit point and some of them, it was just the end. But things like that, when you kind of like, it's almost like your higher self knows and you don't need it. So you just veer away from it.
Right.
So that's how I understand exit points to be. But I thought it might bring some clarity too to what's happening with the COVID people. Mm-hmm. And also that we might hear a lot of stories about things like that and spiritual experiences and near-death experiences that people will start talking about, because a lot of people, it's an exit point. It's not an exit, but it's an exit point.
Well, and I would say too that these exit, NDEs or near-death experiences are like the extreme that we hear about.
Uh-huh.
But so many of these exit point experiences are so much more subtle.
Right.
You don't necessarily see, or you don't at all maybe see a white light or anything like that.
Right.
But it is this sort of teetering. I think a lot of coma patients are like that.
Yes.
A lot of these just very sick patients, a lot of accidents, victims that recover. I mean, there's so many circumstances, drug use, and it is this counseling of, I feel like it is this kind of, very compassionate, understanding counseling that is, if you can leave, and
right.
like we understand if you choose that, but here's some stuff you might want to know, and here's some stuff to help you deal with things that you might need to
right.
And I
Right.
feel like you're just exactly right with what's going on right now, and so many people going through this, because all of these experiences, like cumulatively, uh,
Hmm.
eventually, I think they just bring us so much closer, and that's part of
Right.
what's happening. Is this in this shift is becoming closer to the non-physical world. Like it's almost like a blending, but what I really feel like is like it's like a hand reaching through a waterfall. Do you know what I mean? Like you can just
Right.
reach onto that other side, and that's kind of the buildup of this is a large part of what's happening right now.
Right. Right. And I think going along with that, like the largeness, like the large scale of all the people that are going through this right now. And um I I I have had the feeling from the beginning that the people that are leaving are, and the people that are actually passing away from this, they either made the choice before they came to leave at that time because they want to be on the other side for this. There also may be exit points where they're like, okay, this is what's coming. Do you want to be here? Do you want to be here? You
Right.
know, and it's like, well, I don't want to do that, or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so I do think it, but I do think a lot of this is choosing where you want to be. Do you want to be here on the earth, or do you want to be in the spirit realm? It's almost like we're choosing sides.
Well, and I'll say that in my own experience, and I don't know if you want to tell your experience first, but I can tell mine either
No,
way.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Well, it very much had to do with that idea of do you want to be here or do you want to be there?
Right.
Because what happened was, and this is, gosh, what was it, 30 years ago now? Oh, man, it's a long time ago.
A long time
It
ago.
was similar to the time that yours happened.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
We were living in the same area,
Hmm.
but not where we're living now, and it seemed very far away from home. And I had separated from my husband and was living myself and five children, five little.
Little children, little
My
children.
oldest was 8, and the youngest was about, I want to say, 6 months. It was something. I don't know. What was I thinking? It was crazy. It was crazy.
Let's say, oh, we all would have had an exit point at that point.
Yeah,
Because it's like,
it was not easy.
no.
But I'm an asthmatic, and because I had like moved out of state and just sort of like run away in a sense, I had no insurance. So I sort of relied on my sister to give me like asthma medicine when she had it. It was a horrible experience. But anyway, one night, sort of in the middle of the night, all the kids were asleep, and I couldn't breathe. And the worse that it got, I think it was an allergic reaction, actually, is because I'm allergic to nuts and stuff like that. And I had eaten something I'd never eaten before. And anyway, I couldn't breathe. And I had often thought, like, what point do you have to get to before you call 911? Well, it's the point when you can't breathe and you feel
Yes.
So I called 911 because it was getting worse and I was getting panicky and I couldn't like talk myself down. I couldn't breathe. And I was talking to them and I passed out. And I had gotten my oldest son a little dog for Christmas. This was in the spring, I think. And so this dog was barking and barking and woke up my oldest son, and he came and picked up the phone. I don't remember any of this because I was blacked out, and completed the call. I had already told them where I was, my address and stuff like that, but he kind of stayed on the phone. Before calling 911, I'd called my sister, so she was on her way over. My son was waiting there and opened the door for the paramedics that came in, and they revived me in the ambulance and told me afterwards that I was very, very close to like going into full cardiac arrest, which I didn't, luckily.
Hmm.
But I was, Julie said when she came into the house that I was blue and that, they could not get oxygen in me, but they, eventually did. And I remember coming to in the ambulance, and apparently this is universal, when you come out of having been blacked out, the first thing that comes back to you is your hearing, but I couldn't see. I could just hear, and I didn't really know what was going on. It was awful. But anyway, my thought as I was sort of being brought out and then sort of realized what was happening, was that I had known when I was like blacked out, the one thing that I knew, and I didn't see a light or anything, but I knew that it would have been easier to pass. That if I stayed, it was going to be like a hard road, but
Right.
I had it was like I had the choice.
Right.
And it was after that that as soon as I got feeling better, and it took me a while to feel better, to get over like the panic attacks and stuff like that. But when I got feeling better, I initiated divorce proceedings, which I hadn't done. I was just sort of in limbo. I went
Mm-hmm.
back to work, and then instead of work, I went back to school. And I
Mm-hmm.
continued with school, and I got my degree, and I went to, I mean, it was just this flood of things that
Right.
happened. Life did not get easier in so many,
Right.
it got better because I was doing things that I wanted to do, but it slowly did, you know, and it was,
Right.
and there were so many things, so many great things that came along with going to school. And you know, I went to university, and we lived in married student housing, and it was just great. My kids loved it. They have great stories that they still tell about that time. I had a great school experience. I loved college. I'm so happy that I got my degree. And it's like everything, just like you said, it was a cascade of things. And it wasn't, you know, I thought about it so much, and it wasn't a near death experience. And yet, when you start talking about exit points, that perfectly explains it. It was like it was there if I wanted to. And my thing was, I can't leave 5 kids alone. I mean, I knew that, you know, there was no way that I would have done that. But I'm sure that during that time I was like counseled, maybe sort of even some sort of like energized, like energy
Mm-hmm.
revitalization, where I came back feeling more able to meet the demands that were sort of on me and more able to move forward. And I think that
Right.
happens with a lot of times as you, I don't know, I just feel like there's some sort of like energy transfer almost from the
Yeah.
non-physical world to the physical world that allows you to sort of pick yourself up and go on and get better.
Right.
So, but
Right.
you know, I didn't really think about it until now, but we were very close to
Yeah.
this time. I think yours was probably after.
I think it was about 6 months or 8 months after yours.
Yeah,
Because mine was towards, yours was in the winter, I remember, and mine was in
right,
mine was in like July. So it was just like about 7 or 8 months.
right.
And mine was just that I was in a crappy marriage. But I didn't have kids or anything, but I did have endometriosis, which I didn't know until after this happened. But I had a cyst that was basically killing me. I didn't know it, but it was killing. It was like draining the life out of me because I was sick. I couldn't eat. I couldn't hold down like fluids. I was when I went into the hospital finally, I was so weak. I was dehydrated. I was
So much.
really very, very, just really, really sick. And I remember the doctor telling me that I needed to have, they found the cyst and said, it's huge and you need to have emergency surgery right now. However, you're so dehydrated. I can't remember how he put it, but basically he didn't know if I lived through the surgery because I was in such a weakened state. But I remember sitting there thinking that, first of all, a calm just came over me. It was like, it's all okay. And so I just did it. I just said, okay. And I was by myself. I remember I was for whatever reason, I was by myself. And I think they probably, Julie or somebody, my other sister was waiting in the waiting room. And I just thought, something told me it would be okay. So I went through this. And when I came out of it, I got, I found out I had endometriosis. Everything was fine. It wasn't like cancer or anything like that, because that's what we had feared. We have so much cancer in our family. We thought that's what it could be. But after that, I remember recovering, and then my life, it just felt like everything was wrong. I was in the wrong life. That's what it felt like. And about a month later, I left my husband. It was a dramatic thing. I'm not going to go into that. But I left him, moved back to California and then about 4 months later, I met the husband I'm with now. that's how quick it was. So it was almost like it had to happen then, or I would never. And then we had Cassie, and it's been great. I mean, so many things have changed as far as my life. With people don't know, I don't mention on the channel, but I'm a singer. So I sang I'm still a singer, but I started singing professionally for 30 years, and my life completely changed. My life completely changed from that time, and in a very short period of time. So it was just like they were like, "You're doing it wrong. Get back and do it right. Everything's wrong."
But it was that window actually where you guys met was very, because the circumstances, the place where you met and stuff, it was not like something that would have happened again and again and again, Well,
and within the time that I left, and I got a divorce within about 6 weeks, because it was a quick divorce. It was a Mexican divorce, but it was quick. And we didn't have any long. We didn't have any property. We didn't have anything. And then I met, and so that was about the end of August. And then we met in the end of October. So it was that quick. Yeah. And we dated for a year, and we're engaged for a year. It was a long time, but still, that was how fast everything changed.
Yeah. But it does speak so much about these kinds of experience, about how much we're supported throughout our lives. And I think, in fact, I have a video that I'm working on right now, and it was just an audio reading that I just sort of did today. So it's kind of an audio thing, but it may be up by the time I put this up. But in that reading, I talk a little bit about how much people on the other side, I'll say people, I never quite know how to refer to, like, souls, entities.
Spirits, whatever.
Spirits on the other side, how much they want to support us. And how much, I get this again and again when I do readings, of saying you have so many people on the other side that are trying to reach you, but there are a large groups of people right now, and unfortunately some of them are in our government and in leadership positions, who are so cut off from that.
Oh, yes.
Who are, that they certainly have people, spirits on the other side, who are trying so hard to support them and help them, and help them sort of navigate their way back to love and kindness, but they're so cut off. They they don't believe it. Even if something happened to them, they wouldn't accept it, and it's so telling of how we've sort of gotten ourselves into this mess that we're in, but also how we're going to get out of it. Because as you said, with all these experiences, personal experiences, I think a lot of people are having these experiences who are perfectly healthy, but who are in this lockdown situation where you have so much time.
Right.
So much time on your hands, and people are afraid too. And so naturally you turn to, you spiritual things, and to try and find comfort. And there are so many people, spirits, beings who want to comfort you and are there to help you and to connect with you and help you understand. So it's such this time is just so weird, because it feels so negative in some ways, and yet it's such the shift that's happening is just so overwhelmingly positive.
It is. And I also, whenever I do, in many, not every single reading, but many readings, especially when people are having a very hard time, or they're going through something very hard, I always have their guides always acknowledge how difficult it is to be on Earth. They know how hard it is, and that's why you're right. There is so much support, because they're so aware that and whenever I get things about like how it is on Earth, it's always like it's the hardest place to learn, because you learn so much in such a short amount of time, and the bravest souls are the ones that are here, because it's tough, and they know that it's tough, and there's no way they would let us come here without support.
Right, and that's why they allow exit points.
Maybe, right.
And not every exit point has to come to as dire circumstances as we just talked about.
Right.
Sometimes they're just, like you see the exit sign, you don't actually start to get off. but I think that's why they exist, is because like we get it. We understand if this is too hard, if you want to try something else, if you need to sort of cut it short here,
Mm-hmm.
they get it,
Right.
and then there's absolutely no judgment at all associated with it. It's nothing but support.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
so as with some of the other videos that we've done, if you have experiences that you want to share in the comments and stuff, I love reading them. I think other people.
Yeah, me too.
It's very, stuff like this, when you find out that other people experience it too, or have experiences, or, just ideas, things that they do, and other people are doing it too. And you just feel so validated, and it can help you progress too, when you see how other people handle things, or, different experiences like that. So hopefully it's helpful. So please, feel free to comment and tell us about your experiences.
Yes.
Well, Kim, thanks for doing this with me, and
Thank you.
being on Cardvoyant. You have your classes starting in the fall. I continue to offer readings, so you can come to my website, cardvoyant.com, for that, and you can send Kim an email at intuitiview@gmail.com with the subject that
sorry, go ahead.
The subject that says classes.
Yeah.
Kim will,
and I'll send you an email back. And I was just going to add that, Kris reads for me. I think because I had my channel on first, and however, when I got the message that I needed to let people know that Trump was going to be gone, that we'd get through this, I had no idea how bad it was going to get, but I knew that I needed to do it. I asked Kris to do it first because I just felt like she should do it. So it shouldn't be me. And then I started it, and now Kris is doing hers.
Remember the reading that I gave you? And it was like,
yes. Well, and that was what I was going to say, is that Kristen for years and years and years has read for me, and she's fantastic. So I have a waiting list right now. So don't hesitate if you need to see someone, immediately or soon, to get in touch with Kris, because you won't be sorry.
well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, no, it's so true. So,
well, thanks again, Kim, and we'll both have more videos coming up. Trying to do a little bit more. It's difficult to get to kind of do anything just in life.
I know. It is.
But we will try and do that. So stay tuned, subscribe, and until then, take care of yourself and take care of others. And we will just say bye for now.
Bye.